Hello friends, welcome to my channel, and today we are going to discuss about the anatomy of midbrain, also known as mesencephalon. So we'll study the midbrain under following headings. First we'll see the introduction to the midbrain, where it is located and how it is located, and it is which part of the brainstem. Then we'll see the external features of the midbrain, then the internal features. In this one we are going to see the organization of gray matter and white matter at different level. First at the inferior colliculus level and next at the superior colliculus level. Then lastly we'll conclude the session with the blood supply and clinical aspects or the midbrain syndromes. So as you know, midbrain is also known as mesencephalon. It is a portion of the brainstem or CNS associated with the vision, hearing, motor control, arousal and temperature regulation. Midbrain connects the forebrain with the hindbrain, and it has a cavity or a central canal called as cerebral aqueduct, by which third ventricle communicates with the fourth ventricle. Coming to the external features of the midbrain, the anterior surface of the midbrain, it forms the part of the interpeduncular fossa there. You can see now, that is, it forms the posterolateral boundary of the interpeduncular fossa, and this depression bounded on either side by the crus cerebri, part of the midbrain, and many small blood vessels perforate the floor of this interpeduncular fossa, that is known as posterior perforated substance. And you will see the origin of two nerves, that is superficial origin, oculomotor nerve and trochlear nerve. Medial to cerebral peduncle, you can see the oculomotor nerve or medial side of the crus cerebri. It passes forwards in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, and on the lateral side of the crus cerebri you are seeing the trochlear nerve, which takes its origin from the dorsal side of the midbrain, and it is the only cranial nerve to do so. And on the lateral aspect you will see the two arms or brachium, superior brachium, which connects the superior colliculus to the lateral geniculate body, and an inferior brachium which connects the inferior colliculus to the medial geniculate body. Geniculate bodies are the part of thalamus, which act as the final gateway of all the sensory pathways except the olfaction. Coming to the posterior surface, you will see four rounded elevations called as colliculi. There are pair of superior colliculi, pair of inferior colliculi, divided by a vertical and transverse sulcus, or you can say cruciate sulcus here, and just above the superior colliculus you will see the pineal gland. Coming to the internal structure of the midbrain, so internal structure is studied by two sections, one at the level of inferior colliculus, another at the level of superior colliculus. So first we will see the internal structure of the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. So you can see here diamond shaped rhomboid fossa here. Just above that you can see the pair of inferior colliculus. So it comprises of the two halves called as cerebral peduncles, which again has three subdivisions, crus cerebri, tegmentum and substantia nigra between them. Structures like crus cerebri and substantia nigra remain uniform at both superior and inferior colliculus level, just like the basilar part of the pons. And tectum, lying dorsal to this imaginary plane crossing the cerebral aqueduct, consists of the pretectal area and all these four colliculi. So when you see the cross section of a midbrain, it contains the cerebral peduncle consisting of crus cerebri and tegmentum, and substantia nigra between them here, and tectum is the part of the midbrain lying behind the coronal plane passing through the cerebral aqueduct. So whatever the portion behind this imaginary coronal plane is called as tectum, and it houses this corpora quadrigemina or four colliculi, pair of superior colliculi, pair of inferior colliculi. Here you can see the yellow colored circle is showing the cerebral peduncle having the crus cerebri, substantia nigra and tegmentum. And coming to the parts of this cerebral peduncle which are common to both of the midbrain sections, one at the inferior and superior collicular. First we see crus cerebri. It's a part of the cerebral peduncle. It consists of the descending fibers coming from the cortex. So medial 1/6 is occupied by the corticopontine fibers coming from frontal lobe, whereas lateral 1/6 contains the fibers coming from temporal, occipital and parietal lobe, whereas the middle intermediate part or intermediate 2/3 contains the corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers going from cortex to spinal cord, medulla and the different cranial nerve nuclei lying below it. Whereas substantia nigra is a thin sheet of the nerve cells present immediately behind and medial to this crus cerebri. It appears as dark, that's why it's called as nigra. And you can see here the fibers arrangement in the crus cerebri. You can see the medial 1/6 is the frontopontine fibers, middle you have corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers, lateral 1/6 you will see temporopontine, parietopontine and occipitopontine fibers. And I already told you crus cerebri is a portion of the cerebral peduncle having the descending fibers. It's a part of the motor pathway. And next coming to the substantia nigra. It looks like a darkened streak in an unstained brain tissue. That's why it gets the name for the black substance. And it is actually made up of two zones which are structurally and functionally different. One is called as substantia nigra pars compacta and another one is called as pars reticulata. Whereas neurons in the pars compacta are densely packed, that's why it is called as compacta. And in the compact zone there is a irregular band of closely packed large polygonal cells containing melanin pigment, whereas reticular zone contains the parts or neurons scattered, which are scattered and rich in iron and did not contain melanin pigment. And most of the dopamine neurons of the brain originate in the midbrain and are found in the substantia nigra and ventral tegmental area. These dopamine neurons, however, are found predominantly in the pars compacta. Pars reticulata is populated by the GABA neurons, whereas pars compacta is by the dopamine neurons. That's why lesions of the substantia nigra or dopamine deficiency result in Parkinson's disease. You can see there substantia nigra, posteriorly pars compacta, anteriorly pars reticulata. And the main efferent for the substantia nigra come from corpus striatum of the basal ganglia, striatonigral fibers, and main output from the substantia nigra goes to thalamus and corpus striatum in the form of nigrostrial fibers, and it is a part of the extrapyramidal system. You can see there on the right side you are seeing the normal substantia nigra, on the left side you are seeing the degenerated substantia nigra resulting in Parkinson's disease. Coming to the tectum and tegmentum. In ancient Greek, tectum means the roof, whereas tegmentum means covering. Tegmentum and tectum we'll see. So tegmentum lies between the substantia nigra and the imaginary coronal plane passing through cerebral aqueduct. It also contains ascending and descending fiber tracts, cranial nerve nuclei like trochlear, oculomotor, mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and some other complex nuclear masses like red nucleus, pretectal nucleus, and nuclei of reticular formation. But there is a difference in the arrangement of these white matter and gray matter at inferior and superior collicular level. So you can see here tegmentum at the level of inferior colliculus contains this decusation of the superior cerebral pedicles and necklace-like arrangement of the lemnisci, which we have seen in the upper part of the pons, and also MTR in the median plane from dorsal to ventral. And you can see tectum has the nuclei of inferior colliculus, whereas the periaqueductal gray matter has the trochlear nerve nucleus from which the trochlear nerve arises and decussates dorsally. It is the only cranial nerve which comes from the dorsal part of the brainstem. And tegmentum at the superior colliculus contains the only 3 lemnisci, because lateral lemnisci will end at the inferior colliculus, you have medial trigeminal spinal lemniscus, and you will see the introduction of red nucleus, which is a part of extrapyramidal system, whereas periaqueductal gray matter has this oculomotor nucleus and a mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve. Tectum has the nucleus of superior colliculus along with the pretectal nucleus. Coming to the tectum, tectum means roof. It is the dorsal part of the midbrain, and it contains a set of superior colliculi and inferior colliculi, which appear as 4 small lumps. That's why they are called as corpora quadrigemina. Superior colliculi is concerned with the visual reflexes, whereas inferior colliculi is concerned with the auditory reflexes. And you can see tectum at the inferior colliculus contains the nucleus of inferior colliculus, and at the superior collicular level it contains the nucleus of the superior colliculus. And coming to the in detail about the features of the midbrain at the cross section of inferior colliculus level, you can see there, you can see the inferior collicular nuclei, trochlear nuclei, and the crus cerebri and substantia nigra remain same, and you also see mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. And at the level of inferior colliculus, the cavity is formed by cerebral aqueduct, whereas the nuclei are different here: inferior collicular nuclei, substantia nigra, trochlear nucleus, mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, and motor tracts contain corticospinal, corticonuclear, temporopontine, frontopontine, medial longitudinal fasciculus, tectospinal tract and rubrospinal tract. Sensory tracts or ascending tracts are formed by the 4 lemnisci and also decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncles. So this table will give you the summary of the structures you observe at the level of inferior colliculi. So we will divide it into white matter and grey matter. White matter consists of the ascending and descending tracts, that is motor and sensory tracts. So descending are called as motor tracts, ascending are called as sensory tracts. So motor tracts are formed by what? These descending fibers passing through the crus cerebri, and also these fibers in the midline MTR from dorsal to ventral, these form the motor tracts, whereas sensory tracts are formed by these necklace like arrangement of lemnisci, what you see here: medial, trigeminal, spinal and lateral lemnisci, and decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncles that you see in the form of sensory tracts. First we will see in detail about all these sensory tracts. So first, coming to medial lemniscus, it is formed by the crossing of the internal arcuate fibers at the level of medulla, composed of the second order neurons coming from the nucleus cuneatus and gracilis, and it is readily followed from the medulla to the midbrain and ends in the ventral portion nucleus of the thalamus, and it carries these all general sensation like touch, pressure and vibration from upper limb and lower limb and trunk, that is medial lemniscus. So it is important for somatosensation from the joints and skin, and also carries the vibration and touch pressure senses. Trigeminal lemniscus, also called as the trigeminal thalamic tract, it is composed of the 2 tracts, ventral and dorsal. It conveys the tactile pain and temperature impulse from the skin of the face and forehead, and also from the mucous membranes of the nasal and oral cavity, and also carries the proprioceptive information from the facial and masticatory muscles of the face and forehead. And here you can see the trigeminal lemniscus. Next, moving to the more lateral, that is spinal lemniscus. It is the upward continuation of the lateral spinothalamic tract. It carries pain and temperature from the opposite side of the body below head and neck, and ends in the ventral posterolateral nucleus of thalamus. Here you can see the spinal lemniscus. And lastly, amongst this lemniscus, we are seeing lateral lemniscus. It is a principal ascending auditory pathway in the brainstem that we have seen in the pons. It receives its fibers from the cochlear nuclei, trapezoid nuclei and superior olivary nuclei complex. It contains the both order neurons, third order and second order neurons, and terminates in the nucleus of the inferior colliculus level at the inferior collicular level only. So you don't see lateral lemniscus at the superior collicular level because it is ending at the level of inferior colliculus. Here you can see the inferior colliculus is receiving the fibers of lateral lemniscus and is concerned with the auditory pathway. And coming to the sensory tract, first we are seeing the decussation of the superior cerebral peduncle. So all the fibers of superior peduncle, they decussate at the level of inferior colliculus and cross across the midline, and they contain this cerebellothalamic tract which arise from the dentate nucleus, cerebellar-rubral tract arising from the globus and emboliform nuclei and project to the opposite red nucleus, which eventually give rise to rubrospinal tract. By this decussation and by this sensory tracts, red nucleus is getting to know about the information about the cerebellum, and it also helps in the monitoring of the red nucleus over the cerebellar activities. So red nucleus is a part of extrapyramidal system here. You can see that decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncles at the level of inferior colliculus, and it is important anatomical landmark because the lesions above it produce contralateral cerebellar signs because of the decussation, whereas lesions below it produce the same side or ipsilateral cerebellar signs. Coming to the motor tracts or descending tracts, first we have seen from the dorsal to ventral, that is first we are seeing medial longitudinal fasciculus. It contains the crossed and uncrossed fibers, ascending and descending fibers, and lies ventral to the periaqueductal gray matter. It controls the conjugate eye movements or rapid fixations and connects all the muscles supplied by these oculomotor, trochlear and abducent nerves, and connect them to the vestibulocochlear nerve and accessory nerves for the purpose of balance that we have discussed in the previous video regarding the pons. You can see here medial longitudinal fasciculus. So it, as I told you, it interconnects all these nuclei concerned with the movement of the eyeball, oculomotor, trochlear, abducens, Edinger Westphal, vestibular nuclei, articular and spinal accessory nuclei, coordinate the conjugate eye movements and associated movements of the head and neck for the purpose of balance and equilibrium. Coming to the tectospinal tract, the name itself says it connects the tectum to the spinal cord, that is superior colliculus to the spinal cord. It helps in the spino-visual reflex and the location of touch or any other general sensation by vision. This also we have seen in the pons. You can see tectospinal tract. And lastly, rubrospinal tract. It is a part of the extrapyramidal system. So name itself says it comes from the red nucleus. Rubra means red. So it connects the red nucleus to the spinal cord. It helps in the monitoring the cerebellar action over the extrapyramidal system and involved in the smooth and coordinated voluntary movements. So here is the rubrospinal tract. And next, coming to the gray matter at the level of inferior colliculi. So first we will see the trochlear nucleus, which is in the periaqueductal gray matter. The nucleus of the trochlear nerve is small and nearly circular. The fibers emerging from the nucleus curve dorsolaterally and decussate dorsally and in the superior medullary velum and arise from the dorsal surface of the brainstem caudal to the inferior colliculus and lies lateral to the crus cerebri that we have seen in the anterior surface of the midbrain. You can see the decussation is there. So trochlear nerve and trochlear nucleus has many peculiarities. First peculiarity is the trochlear nerve is the only cranial nerve coming from the dorsal side of the brainstem. Here it comes from the midbrain. It is the thinnest cranial nerve and it is the only cranial nerve which undergoes decussation, and it is the only cranial nerve having the longest intracranial cranial course. So 4 peculiarities you should remember about the trochlear nerve. Thinnest cranial nerve, only cranial nerve coming from the dorsal side, and only cranial nerve to undergo decussation, and it has the longest intracranial course because of its origin and decussation. You can see the trochlear nuclei, and you can see here how the trochlear nerve is emerging from the dorsal side just above the superior medullary velum, and it belongs to the general somatic efferent column, and it supplies the only muscle, that is superior oblique. And next, coming to the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, it consists of the large unipolar neuron, and it has the extent from the motor nucleus to the rostral midbrain. You can see there, that is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. And cell bodies located in this nucleus are actually connected to the principal sensory fibers coming from the masticatory muscles. So it is involved in the proprioception for all the muscles of head and face. And next is cerebral aqueduct. It's around 1.8 centimeter long, traverses the entire midbrain, surrounded by the gray matter called as periaqueductal gray matter. There is no choroid plexus, but it helps in the transmission of the CSF from third ventricle to fourth ventricle. You can see there, cerebral aqueduct is here, T-shaped in cross section. And other nuclei in the periaqueductal gray matter are the nuclei of oculomotor nerve at the level of superior colliculus, nucleus of the trochlear nerve at the inferior collicular level, and mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, that you can see 1, 2 and 3 in the periaqueductal gray matter. And coming to the tectum here at the inferior colliculus level, what it contains? It contains the inferior colliculi. It is nothing but a compact nucleus containing the large and small multipolar neurons, and it is connected to the fibers of the lateral lemniscus. Its primary role is in the signal integration, frequency recognition and pitch discrimination of the sounds, and also helps in the processing of the sensory signals coming from the superior colliculi. Inferior colliculi act as a relation for the auditory pathway. And now we will see the cross section at the level of superior colliculus. As I already told you, the crus cerebri and substantia nigra remain same, what we have seen at the inferior colliculus level, but there will be some changes at the level of superior colliculi in tegmentum and tectum. You can see here, there is the introduction of the red nucleus, and you will see Edinger-Westphal nucleus, oculomotor nucleus, superior colliculus in the tectum. And this is a summary showing the contents of the midbrain at the cross section superior collicular level. Cavity is cerebral aqueduct. Nuclei, which nuclei will be there? There will be superior collicular nuclei in the tectum, and there will be oculomotor nuclei and mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve in the periaqueductal gray matter, Edinger-Westphal nucleus in the pretectal part, red nucleus in the tegmentum, and substantia nigra will be there in between tegmentum and crus cerebri. Descending tracts are same: corticospinal, corticonuclear, temporopontine, frontopontine, medial longitudinal fasciculus, and here what you see is decussation of rubrospinal tract. Whereas in the inferior collicular level you have seen decussation of superior cerebellar peduncles. Sensory tracts are in the form of 3 lemnisci: trigeminal, spinal and medial. Lateral lemnisci already ended at the level of the inferior colliculus level. So here you can see the motor tracts in the crus cerebri and also in the median plane, medial longitudinal fasciculus, and you can see the decussation of rubrospinal tract there. And sensory tracts, the 3 lemnisci, lateral lemnisci is missing. Why? Because it ends at the level of inferior colliculus for the purpose of auditory reflexes, integration and pitch discrimination. So what are the different nuclei you will see here? In the tectum you are seeing superior colliculus, in the periaqueductal gray matter you are seeing mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, oculomotor nucleus and Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and in the tegmentum you are seeing the red nucleus, whereas between tegmentum and crus cerebri you are seeing substantia nigra. Already we have discussed about the substantia nigra. It remains same here even at the level of superior colliculus level. Coming to the sensory nucleus here, that is red nucleus. So red nucleus is a oval shaped paired nuclei approximately 5 mm in diameter, and it appears red in the freshly dissected specimen of midbrain. That's why it's called as red nucleus, and it is red because of the high vascularity and because of its high levels of iron pigments. You can see here, this is the pair of red nuclei at the level of superior colliculus, and it receives the fibers coming from the cerebellum and cerebrum, that is cerebellar cortex and cerebral cortex, and it gives output to the spinal cord, brainstem, reticular formation, Oliver nucleus and thalamus. So it has rubrospinal fibers, rubrobulbar fibers, rubroreticular fibers, rubro-olivary fibers and rubrothalamic fibers. So coming to the motor nuclei, that is oculomotor nuclei, it also has the 6 components. One of them is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. When you see the oculomotor nucleus here, it belongs to both general somatic efferent because it supplies all the muscles of the eyeball except lateral rectus and superior oblique, and it also has special visceral efferent column because it gives parasympathetic fibers to the sphincter pupillae and also involved in the constriction of the pupil and accommodation. Coming to the pretectum, it's a group of small midbrain nuclei just rostral to the superior colliculus. They receive signal from these retinal ganglion cells and involved in the pupillar right reflex by means of projection to Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and also involved in the consensual reflex. You can see here, this is how the pretectum or pretectal area is involved in both light reflex and consensual light reflex. Coming to the tectum, at superior collicular level, what it contains? Superior colliculi. It is nothing but a group of neurons. It has projection to the medial geniculate body, and it is partly continuing to this lateral geniculate body and continue as optic tract. Superior colliculi is concerned with the visual pathway, so it will project to the lateral geniculate body. And lastly, coming to the blood supply, I hope you are clear what are the similarities and dissimilarities of the cross sections of the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus and superior colliculus. Now move on to the blood supply. The artery supplying here is posterior cerebral artery, superior cerebral artery, both are branches of the basilar artery and drained by basal veins and great cerebral veins. Coming to the syndromes, vascular syndromes, what are the midbrain syndromes here? So midbrain syndromes are basically divided into ventral and dorsals. Ventral syndromes involve this crus cerebri and tegmentum, whereas dorsal midbrain syndrome involve tectum. The ventral midbrain syndromes are Weber syndrome, Claude syndrome and Benedict syndrome, and dorsal midbrain syndromes are 2, North-Nagel syndrome and Perry-Nods syndrome. So we can classify the syndromes of the midbrain into ventral and dorsal. Ventral involve crus cerebri, substantia nigra and tegmentum, whereas dorsal involve only the tectum. So which nuclei you see in the tectum? Superior collicular nuclei, inferior collicular nuclei. Whereas which nuclei you see in tegmentum? You will come across this trochlear nucleus, oculomotor nucleus, mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, red nucleus, lemnisci, MTR you are going to see. Whereas in substantia nigra you are going to see all these dopaminergic neurons, and in crus cerebri you are going to see corticospinal tracts and other descending tracts. So with that concept we will see the syndromes one by one. So Weber syndrome, it usually involves the crus cerebri, So there will be emergence of the oculomotor nerve medial to crus cerebri, and also involves the descending tracts like corticospinal tract and corticobulbar tract. So patient will come with the ipsilateral lateral squint because oculomotor nerve is involved. All the muscles are paralyzed except the lateral rectus and superior oblique, because lateral rectus is supported by the abducent, superior oblique by the trochlear. So there will be contralateral hemiplegia due to involvement of corticospinal tract, and also contralateral paralysis of the face and tongue because of the involvement of corticobulbar tract, and there will be ptosis because of the paralysis of levator palpebrae superioris. Pupil is dilated and fixed, and accommodation reflex is lost because of the involvement of the parasympathetic component of oculomotor nerve coming from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Next is Claudius syndrome. It involves the tegmentum. So there will be involvement of third cranial nerve, red nucleus, and also the superior cerebellar peduncles which connect the cerebellum to the red nucleus. So the features will be same. Third cranial nerve is involved, so there will be squint, ptosis, pupil is dilated and fixed, accommodation is lost because of the involvement of the oculomotor nerve, whereas there will be cerebellar ataxia due to involvement of red nucleus and superior cerebellar peduncle. What is the function of red nucleus? It monitors the activity of the cerebellum over the extrapyramidal system. Next is Benedict syndrome. It involves both the tegmentum and crus cerebri. Basically, it is Weber plus Caude syndrome. So it involves third cranial nerve, red nucleus, superior cerebellar peduncle, corticospinal tract, and substantia nigra. So you will have ipsilateral oculomotor palsy causing what? Ptosis and mydriasis, anophthalmos, loss of accommodation reflex, and cerebellar ataxia due to involvement of red nucleus and superior cerebellar peduncle, and opposite hemiplegia because of involvement of corticospinal tract, hemichoria and athetosis because of the involvement of substantia nigra. And coming to the dorsal syndromes involving the tectum and some part of periaqueductal gray matter, Knoth-Nagel syndrome. It involves the third cranial nerve and some fibers of the superior cerebellar peduncle, and also fourth cranial nerve nucleus that will cause vertical gaze palsy because of the involvement of superior oblique muscle. So because of the oculomotor nerve involvement, there will be ipsilateral oculomotor palsy, contralateral ataxia and tremors because of the involvement of superior cerebellar peduncles. Why contralateral? Because it undergoes the decussation at the level of inferior colliculi, and vertical gaze palsy is due to the involvement of the trochlear nucleus. And lastly, Perinaud syndrome. It is due to the tumor of the pineal gland which lies just above the pair of superior colliculus, which we have seen in the posterior surface of the external features in the introduction part. So it involves the superior colliculus, and there will be upward gaze palsy or sunset sign, ski deviation of the eyeball. So this is about the midbrain syndromes, and we have seen the entire anatomy of the midbrains in the form of external features, internal features, blood supply, and the syndromes. And in the introduction to the brainstem, we have discussed in detail about the pattern of the blood supply of the brainstem. Please go through that to understand these syndromes. Hope you had a very fruitful session. Thank you, and please subscribe and forward the video, and please post your genuine feedback. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.